We are getting to the point of the book where I don't want to put this down. I'm just like so freaking happy right now. I just love when books are good, you know? Okay, not to be dramatic, but I don't think I've ever been this excited to read in my entire life. In today's vlog, we are reading 3 of my most anticipated books of the entire year. We have one of my favorite authors of all time, and we have 2 continuations of 2 series that are on my favorite series of all time. And so the 3 books that I'm gonna be reading for this video, ooh, I'm just getting excited thinking about it. We have Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. Stephen Graham Jones has become one of my favorite authors in the past couple of years, and that says a lot because I'm generally not a big horror fan, but Stephen Graham Jones, we're locked in. Okay, and so this book essentially follows an indigenous vampire back in 1912, and that's really all I need to know to pick it up. Honestly, at this point, I will pick up just about anything Stephen Graham Jones puts out. And then for the 2 continuations of series, y'all, Haymage's Games. When I tell you I feel like I'm one of the sole reasons this book came out, when I tell you that I was screaming into the ether to get Haymage's Games since like the second that I finished the Hunger Games trilogy like a decade ago, screaming, okay? And so the fact that we are finally getting Haymage's Games, like, the nostalgia, just like, I am so excited. Like, I really just can't contain the energy that I have to get into this. And I haven't seen any spoilers or anything for it, but I have seen people's ratings, and I think I'm gonna have a good time, okay? I don't think that I'm going to be disappointed at all. And then the second book that is a continuation of a series, we have Oathbound by Tracey, Deonn. This series has quickly become one of my favorites of all time. I feel like this was a book and a series that I wish that I had had in high school. It was like the book that I always imagined having, and so I'm so glad that even as an adult I'm still able to enjoy it and that we are getting to read it. And so with Oathbound, I have some thoughts on what I would like to see happen in Oathbound, because I'm gonna say it, I'm Team Nick. But we'll get more into that once I start reading Oathbound and just some of my thoughts about the past books. Okay, and for Oathbound, I will be reading it via Kindle, and I know what you're thinking. How are you not reading that physically? Trust me, I want to. But my wonderful sister was able to get me a signed copy of Oathbound because Tracey Deonn did go to her city for the signing, but she did not come to mine. So I'm just gonna read it via Kindle, but I just want this to be a sign. The true love does exist. And I love my sister so much for being able to get me a signed copy. But with that, I'm so excited to start reading. Like, literally, the anxiousness, the joy is like radiating off of me because I'm so excited to start reading. So like, let's just get into it because I just can't wait any longer. Y'all, this vlog did not start out the way that I thought it was going to. I am about 35% of the way into Buffalo Hunter, and I'm ashamed to say that I was a little worried about Stephen Graham Jones. That first like 20% of the book, I was struggling. Ye of little faith. I should have known better because at a certain point it definitely started to pick up. The storytelling started to make sense. So let me back up for a second and just talk about what the book is about. So in Buffalo Hunter, essentially we are following an indigenous vampire, but he is telling his story of how this happened to him and the history of some other things that have happened in the area through these interviews with like a pastor. And the book is set in 1912. And so some of the language was a little hard for me to like get rooted in how the story was being told. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm still glazing over like the pastor's sections of the story because it is dual POV right now. And so once I got rooted into the story and I could finally kind of pick up on that atmospheric, very creepy way that Stephen Graham Jones likes to tell stories, I was like, oh, we're back, baby. We are so back. But then I also started to worry about my mental health just a little bit because there was some scenes where we were getting description of some blood like getting sucked off the bone essentially, and I was like feeling very squirmish because I hate blood, but at the same time I was like, oh, I love Steven so much. And so it's like, why does he do that to me? Why do I feel like that? It's a lot of emotions when reading Stephen Graham Jones for sure. So like, I'm happy that we're here now. I am reading this via audio because I did get a advanced copy from Libro FM, and I'm reading on my Kindle. And so I am enjoying reading it that way. I feel like if I wasn't reading it that way, I would probably be completely lost. But it is currently Friday, and I actually have a friend coming into town. I'm so excited to see her. So me and her actually met on Bumble BFF like a couple of years ago. And so if you are someone who is looking for adult friends, definitely try Bumble BFF. I will say I think I had an anomaly of an experience because she was like the first and only person I've ever met off of that app, but we are locked in. Like, that is one of my best friends now. But she did recently move to a different state, but she is from the area, so she's coming down to visit for a little while, and I'm so excited. We're gonna have so much fun. We always just like to laugh and kiki. So I'm excited to see her. I'm gonna try to take you guys along for what we do. I think it's gonna be more of like a chill weekend, so we'll see, but we're in for a ride. Hi guys, so as you can see, I have a little visitor today. I have a co-star in this clip, and it's crazy because I clearly have a 7 head and it wanted to land like right at the top, which I really just feel like it emphasizes the shape that I have going on, but I'm trying not to take it personally. But as you saw, me and my friend Megan had the best time while she was visiting. I'm always just so happy when I get to spend time with my friends. It just really heals my heart and my soul. I needed a good kiki. I needed a good laugh. She tried nigiri for the first time, and I've tried it before, but at the place we went to, speaking on the opposite end of eating, right? Because now my stomach is about to turn. Because let's talk about Buffalo Hunter, okay? I know that Stephen Graham Jones has a little something going on. I've read some things by him where I'm like, I know you're not okay. But usually when I read his stories, like my stomach turns, but the writing is always just so good that I can kind of look past it. And while I think the writing is still so good in here, I'm getting so thrown off by some of the descriptions. And I think I'm noticing it more because while the writing is good, I feel like I'm really only engaged with the story when we're in the POV of our vampire. When we flip over to our other POV of the pastor, I can tell you right now, I don't know what's going on with him. I've started to grasp onto it more, but I'm like, I don't really care about his POV. Give me back to the action. Give me back to, I know the blood and guts, which is crazy to say, but at least like I'm engaged then. Overall, I just want to say I'm still enjoying the book. I am just struggling with certain pieces of it, but like Stephen Graham's writing is still coming through. It is just taking me a little longer to get through. Anyways, what we are going to do now is my other friend is having a bookish themed birthday party this weekend, and I'm so excited, not only just to celebrate her for her birthday, but to go to a bookish themed party. Like, who wouldn't be excited about that? But for her birthday, I did get her some books, which I'll show you what series I decided on later. But I did decide that I want to wrap her books in newspaper. Since it is like a bookish theme, I wanted like the wrapping paper to have words and stuff on it. And I figured the best way to do that is to support the media and my local newspaper by buying a newspaper and using that. So we are going to take a little stroll to the corner store, see if they have a newspaper, and I'm going to try to wrap those tonight so that I'm not like completely behind on everything that I have to do this week. Okay, so it's time to wrap these books. I do have some newspaper, but I also have this like newspaper fabric that I used for like a Bookstagram shoot at one point that I don't know if I'm gonna use again, so I may use this instead of the newspaper. We'll see. I did get some like purple ribbon and bows from the dollar store because her favorite color is purple, so definitely had to add that in there. But what you guys have all been waiting for, what book series did I get her? Red Rising. I don't think she's gonna be disappointed. I think we have similar enough reading taste where she'll enjoy this. I got her the entire series. And of course, I had to get her the hardback because I'm not skimping out on my girl. But before I start wrapping that, I did finish Buffalo Hunter Hunter. So want to give you guys my final thoughts on that. So let me just say, Buffalo Hunter Hunter was a longer book than I thought it was going to be. When I did look on Goodreads, I realized it was like over 450 pages or something around there, which I just was not expecting. And it did make the book a little bit difficult to get through. And I think I mentioned before that like the writing style of this, because it's set in like the early 1900s, the vocabulary and the writing of it, I will say, wasn't super accessible. And it made it a little sluggish and hard for me to get through. So there's definitely parts where I was just like, oh, what are you saying? But as I was reading it, because we are following an indigenous character, kept mentioning this massacre called the Mariah's Massacre. And I was like, I wonder if that's a real event that happened. And it absolutely is. And that really just put a lot into perspective for me as I continued to read the book. And I would say look up Mariah's Massacre. I think the book, though, if you don't know anything about it, it tells you what it is, and it's so tragic. And anytime I learn about like a piece of history, sometimes I feel like I should have known that, especially because indigenous culture is something that is so important to American history, and everything that they went through is important to American history. There's just certain things I just didn't know, but I'm glad that I know now. But there was a line in the book that I feel like kind of just wraps up a lot of history and turmoil that indigenous people have gone through in America. And it says, "What I am is the Indian who can't die. I'm the worst dream America ever had." Oof. Yeah, so this book ended up being a lot more complex and I think meaningful than I was expecting it to be, for sure. And I think I've mentioned this a few times. One of my like favorite niche genres is going to be historical horror. Like there's something about weaving in real historical elements into a horror, because a lot of real elements and a lot of America's history is horrific. And so I just want to let you guys know, sometimes books will challenge you, and I love that about books. And I'm learning this year that sometimes when books challenge me, I just have to keep pushing through them, because usually the payoff is worth it for me in the end. And that was definitely the case for Buffalo Hunter Hunter. And so I'm gonna give this 4 stars. But next up, we're going to That Book Birthday Party. But I'm gonna finish wrapping these gifts for the book birthday party. But also for this birthday party, we are supposed to either dress up as our favorite book character or bring a like bookish treat. And so listen, I had planned to dress up as Bree from Legendborn, but my hair's straight right now, so that threw off that a bit, and I just didn't have time to make the necklace and stuff that I wanted. So I'm not gonna dress up as a book character, but I have some like bookish shirts that I think I'm gonna wear. And for the bookish dessert that I brought, you have to think smarter, not harder. Okay, and as you look at this bookish treat, can you tell maybe what book that we are going to be reading next for this video? That's right, we are reading Sunrise on the Reaping. I'm so excited about this, but we're gonna get to this later today. Let's get some other stuff done and let's go do a book birthday party.
On the side next to you, no wasting time. Can you tell me the truth? I'm feeling you, yeah, I'm feeling you. Oh, oh, be honest, tell me what's on your mind. Oh, baby, you. When I lay my eyes on you from afar, I could swear I thought you fell from the stars. Think about you day and night, girl, even when you're not around. I don't want it if it's not with you. Hey, I'm just keeping it straight, cause you got me feeling distracted. Let me show you the way, girl, I don't take it for granted. Why can't we just give it a go? Infatuated more than you know. I want you near with the same point of view. I'm always ready, so call me over. We're meant to be like the sun and the moon. I just want you to know I'll have a strawberry side on the side next to you. No wasting time, can you tell me the truth? I'm feeling you, yeah, I'm feeling you. Oh, oh, be honest, tell me why. Honest, tell me why. I'll have a strawberry side on the side next to you.
Okay, I'm popping in before I go to the gym to talk to you guys about Sunrise on the Reaping. Oh, I'm so excited to be back in like the Hunger Games world. And so for those of you who for whatever reason don't know what this book is about, this book follows Haymitch and when he was going through his games. And Haymitch is the mentor to Katniss and Peeta, but this is taking us back like 24 years in the past from when the original Hunger Games series takes place, and we are looking at the 50th quarter quell. And so quarter quell is literally like, oh, this is a special Hunger Games because it's contributing to like the anniversary. And in this quarter quell, instead of 24 kids being reaped or being chosen to go into the Hunger Games, there is double the amount. So 48 kids are supposed to be going into this arena. And the thing is, like, I obviously know that Haymitch wins his games, right? But there's a lot of just details that surprised me. I also know bits and pieces of how it kind of all ends for him and like why he started drinking and all of that. And so I'm so intrigued to see how that plays into the story. I also just hit part 2, which is called The Rascal, and the bomb that was just dropped on the page right before this, Miss Collins. She knows what she was doing. There's a reason why her books are so popular. Like, I really did not want to put this down yesterday, but my eyes just, they just weren't making it. But I did get 130 pages in. This is like the first book in a really long time where I'm like, I do not want to go to sleep. Like, I just want to keep reading. Like, even right now, like, I'm supposed to be going to the gym, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to sit down and finish this book. So I'm excited to like get back and forget all my responsibilities and just read this. But I am going to the gym because I already paid for that class. And another thing that I'll mention is that there are so many connections throughout this story. Like, you see small details and how it ties back to his story and how it ties back to Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. It's like the whole world is like really coming together. And I just love it. Oh, I love it so much. Like, I just feel like a toddler with like a lot of energy right now that just like has to get it all out because I'm so excited about reading. Okay, so I'm about 50 pages away from the end, and I have been left speechless in the last like couple of pages just from the violence that is in here. I mean, obviously they're in the Hunger Games, but I'm like, I was not expecting that. Like, I have been devastated multiple times. I don't know how much more I can take of it, but I think we're like nearing an end in the arena. So I'm going to try to film my reactions for the last 50 pages just to kind of see what happens. So I'm so scared. There's already just been so many twists and turns in here that I just really don't know what to expect. So here we go. Cut the cameras. Cut the cameras. You guys, I am still not recovered from reading Sunrise on the Reaping. She needs to write a masterclass. Miss Collins needs to write a masterclass on how to continue a legacy series, because I don't know if when she wrote The Hunger Games, she knew that she was going to write this continuation and Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, or if she wrote those and then decided to write these and just figured out how to tie everything together. But the way it was written, I feel like she had an idea that this was going to happen, because all of it just makes so much sense. Having the backstory on some of these side characters, and I don't want to ruin anything for anybody because I think you have to experience this pure. And Haymitch, my Shayla, my heart broke for him multiple times. And we know some of these things happened to him because they're mentioned in the Hunger Games trilogy, but then just reading the details, reading the emotion that he felt, gut-wrenching. And so that's where some of my tears came from yesterday. And what really fucked me up was the epilogue. Okay, there's one sentence in the epilogue that I don't know why that was the sentence that had me bawling, but I don't think I'll ever be the same after reading that. I cut the cameras because I had to. Y'all were just gonna sit there and watch me cry for 5 minutes, and I continued to cry because everything continued to settle in, and all of the realizations continued just to fall on me all at once, because some things that aren't said in this book but then are inferred from everything we know about the world is just so heartbreaking. For example, knowing that Haymitch had to be a mentor to so many tributes that he watched die over and over and over again. I'm gonna start crying again. What? And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I have always wanted Haymitch's games. I've always said Haymitch, and the second person I've always said that I want their POV is Finnick. I know y'all was all down and out about Rue, but Finnick, that fucked me up, okay? And I've always wanted his POV, but after reading this, I don't know if anything would make sense to come after this. There is now one new person that I would want to read their POV and their full story arc, because I feel like there's a lot of conversations and a lot of interest that I'm still just wondering how it all pieces together. But it wouldn't be Finnick now, which is crazy to say, because he's probably one of my favorite characters ever in a book. Don't get me wrong, if Miss Collins wants to give us Finnick, I will still read it and eat it up. But now I'm wondering, based off this, if there's a different character that she may spin off, or I would actually still be satisfied if it ended here. But I'm so happy this is being turned into a movie. Everything is just, my brain has literally exploded. And obviously 5 stars. If it's not obvious, I'm never going to be the same after reading this book. So if you haven't read the Hunger Games series at all, or you haven't gotten to this yet, do it immediately. So I can't believe that I finished this and still have another book to read in this vlog, but we are going to start Oathbound by Tracey Deonn, another one that I'm so excited about. I have seen nothing but good things about this book. Since I don't have my physical copy quite yet, I am going to buy it on my Kindle, and we're gonna start that tonight. Part of me wants to take a break so that I can digest Sunrise on the Reaping, but we're on a schedule. So I'll have to take a day after I finish Oathbound just to soak everything in. Oh, I'm just like so freaking happy right now. I just love when books are good, you know? Oh. So raise your hand if you've ever been personally victimized by your own memory. Because I read the first chapter of Oathbound last night and realized I don't remember what's going on. So I did a little cheat code. I used ChatGPT to give me a little summary of the first two books, and I feel like I'm caught up now. But I did want to give kind of my thoughts on like what I'm hoping for Oathbound and just some of my thoughts on the first two books. So one thing that I remember about Bloodmarked, which is the second book, is that Bree was so stubborn in that book. Like, she was so hard-headed and she was so frustrating to me. And I was immediately reminded of that in the first chapter of this book, because I was like, girl, how did we get in this situation again? Because what are you doing here with this person? And I'm like, oh, I forgot that you were being real kind of dumb. But I love her still. Like, I feel like she's definitely a flawed character, but I think that's one of the reasons that I love her. So as a quick synopsis of this trilogy so far, we follow a young girl named Bree who's in the process of grieving her mother, and she ends up going to this college for this college immersion program. And while she's there, she's trying to figure out some questions around her mom's death. She gets into this secret society, and while she's in the society, she realizes a lot of things, how her mom was connected to this society, and then just like what's going on at this school in general. And Bree realizes that she has these magical powers, but because of her ancestry and her lineage, she realizes she's a lot stronger than normal people with certain powers and gifts. And so in the second book, there are some things. I feel like explaining a series is hard without giving anything away. There are a couple main characters. So we have Selwyn, who is a, what is he called? A Merlin, which he is like partially a demon. And then we have Nick, who helps her kind of get her footing into this new society. And Nick is kind of like the golden boy of this magical society that is there on campus. And in the second book, we dive a little bit deeper into kind of like the lore and the history of this society, how it impacts Bree. And I feel like there's a lot of themes of like white supremacy in here. There's a lot of themes of like systemic racism when it comes to certain societies and programs. And so there is a lot of parallels to our current society, in which I really enjoy in any type of book, but I absolutely love it in this. There is some, you know, Black history that's thrown in there and things that are tied to ancestry. So love all of that. And then let's talk about the love triangle. And so I know a lot of people are team Selwyn, but hear me out. I like the golden retrievers. I like the golden boys, so I'm team Nick. And I feel like sometimes when there's a love triangle, it's clear that our main character is leaning towards one, or she makes a decision very quickly towards one. But I feel like with this series, I feel like our two characters are on like equal footing when it comes to like a love type of situation with Bree. I know y'all love like a little dark evil daddy, okay? And I understand that, but give me the golden retriever. So I'm going to continue reading that and really get into it. I am going to my parents' house this weekend, and I'm leaving tonight after I finish up my work day. So that is going to throw off my reading schedule a little bit, since I'm not listening to it on audio and I can't listen to it in the car. But we'll get some reading done this weekend. I think it's going to be pretty chill, but we have a little road trip to go on first. Okay, so I'm back from my parents' house. I know for y'all that was 0 time. I had expected to sit on the hammock, read outside, do my little Easter egg hunt, which I did do an Easter egg hunt. Yes, I'm 32 and still doing Easter egg hunt. Mind your business, but I'm $15 and a lot of jelly beans richer. Okay, but I realized I have a lot of like travel plans and just people visiting and stuff soon, and I realized I need to do my hair. I spent 12 hours doing that instead of reading, but in the meantime, I did get about 25% of the way through Oathbound, and I was trying to figure out the best way to talk about like a 3rd book in the series without like spoiling anything for anybody, but also for the people that have read it, you guys kind of understand like where my thoughts are. And so in this 3rd book, we start out in the aftermath of like the really big battle scene that happens in the 2nd book. And so our 3 like mainish characters, Nick, Selwyn, and Bree, they're all in 3 different places right now. And so we are understanding where all 3 of them are at this point in the story. But the POVs are actually through some of the side characters that we know a little bit about from the other stories, but we're figuring out how they're playing a bigger role in the story now, which I'm really enjoying actually, because we're still getting the main story, but I feel like there's these like really important plot points that we're getting through these other characters. And you know, I said at the beginning, I'm team Nick, and Nick, he's a man with a plan. Okay, I love when a main character, a protagonist actually has a plan, because I feel like a lot of the times in fantasy stories, main characters just be winging it. Okay, they just be like, "Ooh, I got an idea, I'm gonna do that. I didn't think this all the way through, but I'm gonna do that anyways." And I begin frustrated because I feel like that's what Bree has done, our like true main character. But Nick, he's had a plan and he's in the middle of executing that plan. And I feel like it's about to spark this like bigger buddy journey with him and some of these side characters. So I'm interested to see like where that actually takes them. This book is super long, but I am enjoying just reading it with my eyes. I feel like I have to do that sometimes to like remind myself that I can read without an audiobook. And because I've read the first 2 physically, I don't want the audiobook to throw me off. Like I already have my vision of like how these characters sound and their tone of voice, and so I don't want to be disappointed by the audiobook. So I'm going to continue to read it via my Kindle, but I'm enjoying it that way. It is just taking me a little longer. But yeah, let's just continue getting this reading done and I'll see where the story goes. We are getting to the point of the book where I don't want to put this down. I would say in the last like 25% of the book, I have been just wanting to keep reading. I've made bad decisions and stayed up really late to read this book, even though I knew I had to go to work in the morning. Boo. But I'm 60% of the way through it now and I am loving it. So I think I had told you guys that at the beginning of the story, 3 of our main characters were kind of in different places. They were kind of just dispersed, and we're getting to a point now where their stories are starting to intertwine again, but not in a way that I was expecting. And then there's also like this, I wouldn't say it's a twist, but there's like a complication as their stories are starting to form, and it's getting a bit harder for Bree, our main character, to like piece some things together. But I will also say that me saying I was team Nick, it's starting to come out a little bit more. But I'm also trying to remember how old Nick is, because I can't say too much for real. But you know, Nick is becoming a young man, and some of those descriptions are indicative of that, and I love that for him, and I love that for Bree as well. So we're in the last 40% of this book, and I'm so interested to see where it's gonna go. And it just reminds me, like, the whole writing style of this book and how like the story's told, and then just like the action pieces that are thrown into it, reminds me why I love this series so much. And it's just like I'm starting to re-fall in love with this series, and just like it is just fantastic. Amazing. I don't know how Tracey Deonn is doing it for a 3rd time, but she definitely is, and I'm super intrigued. So we're gonna go ahead and try to finish the rest of this book.
No wasting time. Can you tell me the truth? I'm feeling you, yeah, I'm feeling you. Oh, oh, be honest, tell me what's on your mind. Want you to know the silence so loud. I'm running out of patience. I need your love, babe. I'll have a strawberry side on the side next to you. No wasting time. Can you tell me the truth? I'm feeling you, yeah, I'm feeling you. Oh, oh, be honest, tell me what. Honest, tell me what. I'll have a strawberry side on the side next to you. No wasting time. Can you tell me the truth?
Okay, y'all, I look tired because I am tired. It is 12:30 a.m. and I have to wake up for work in the morning. But I'm enjoying this book so much. Like, I'm actually tempted to stay up and continue reading because I'm officially about 80% of the way through the story. And I'm just having such a good time. Like, there's just been multiple moments where I'm like, yep, this is why this series is one of my favorites of all time. And so, like, I knew that Nick was going to be having a moment in this book, but I didn't realize it was going to be multiple moments. And it's so funny about Nick because I feel like there had been multiple moments in the book where not only just because how he was described physically, but also because how he's been just like showing up for Bree, how he's been standing up for her, how he's like there for her and just being so understanding. I'm like, Nick, the man that you are, yes. But then Tracey Deonn quickly reminds us that this man or boy is 17. And she's like, get it together quickly, please. But I feel like the maturity that he has and the way that he's written, he definitely feels a lot older than 17. And maybe I say that because I've just met a lot of immature men in my life that I'm like, none of them would ever say these things to me. But I mean, we also understand that like Nick has gone through a lot. We learn that in this story as well. But also I love that Tracey Deonn is never gonna let us forget that Bree is a black character, okay? There's a scene in this book where Bree is fighting in a bonnet. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I just had to stop and just like take that in for a second because it's like we are getting a black female protagonist that is very clearly black, and that like the author is just making sure that we remember that just by these like subtle cues. And I just I love it. But while all of this is happening, there is still a lot of like action. There is still a lot of plot being woven into the book. There's still a lot of like answers and revelations that are coming from not only things in this story, but in the past books as well. So it's like the whole thing, like Tracey Deonn is a genius. I feel like I've said this before, but she's actually a genius, I think. So like, good for her. Get her like on the Mensa list or something because it's a work of art. But I'm so excited to continue reading. Like I said, I may make bad decisions and continue to stay up because we're getting to a point now where I'm like, yo, I need to know what's gonna happen. And I just love that feeling. But then my 32-year-old body is also like, you know what we don't love? Being exhausted in the morning when you have to work your actual job. So things are conflicting a little bit, but we'll see who wins out. You know, so balance is a thing, and I ended up staying up an extra like 45 minutes to read, but I still ended up falling asleep. You know, responsibility, spontaneity, you gotta balance them. But I am just in awe of this book. I love when authors pay attention to like these smallest details and then they come back around and are like full circle. I just also love when just like a story just makes sense and then there's just all these twists and turns that you're just not expecting. And I feel like the entire last bit of that book, I was just like, all of the feelings were coming out. I feel like Tracey Deonn writes like humanity and feelings so well. And one of the things I was thinking as I was reading the end was like, I would read a romance by Tracey Deonn. Like just the way that she describes like her protagonist and like the push and pull of like our main character and like what she feels towards like multiple people. It's just done so well. Like she just writes emotions so well, which is one of the reasons why I think people love this series so much and they tend to connect with these characters. Man, and then that ending, I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting that. I love a fantasy that has me feeling satisfied at the end, but then also on a cliffhanger, because that means I'm getting another book, which is just so exciting. And I feel like in this world there's still just so much to explore. And so I don't know when Tracey Deonn is coming out with the next book, but I'm ready. And so obviously this book is 5 stars. It got me in my feels. It got me excited. It just like, this is why I like fantasy. But with that, that brings us to the end of the vlog. Guys, I had just as much fun as I thought I was going to. Like, while Buffalo Hunter x Hunter didn't start out exactly as I was hoping, it ended up being a book that I do think is going to stick with me for a while and just really speaks to Stephen Graham Jones's artistry when it comes to writing horror and intertwining history and horror. And then obviously Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping. I'm just now recovered. It's been like 6 days since I've read that book and I'm just now recovered. And now that I've been back in that world, I'm really hoping that Suzanne Collins stays there and that she continues to write other POVs, just anything at this point. Like, I will take anything that she gives us. And then obviously Oathbound, phenomenal. A phenomenal 3rd book in a series. And I don't know how many books that this series is going to be, but I'll take what I can get, okay? And if you made it to the end of this video, you are my absolute favorite. And let me know down below in the comments what your most anticipated book of the year is. Have you read it yet? Has it yet to come out? Let me know. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.